Top wheel, developed by George Powell. All of the Powell brand stuff is made right here in the USA. Not a skateboarder by the definition of most hardcore skateboarders. He would have ridden on a Kahuna stick or something like that. But we're seeing the best stuff is coming from good people of goodwill who want to make quality products and who are curious about performance. So coming back, I'm really honored to be with you guys. I'm really having a lot of fun already. Didn't know it was going to be such a warm social situation. So we're talking about kicks on the tail and nose. We're talking about concave through the whole thing. We're talking about exterior perimeter contour, and we're talking about hips. That's what we're going to want to discuss. These are the hips of a board, and what Tim is describing is he wants to raise the hips of his board. He wants to have a higher hip in his board. He wants to deepen the belly. He wants to deepen the belly of the board. I'm getting us into some terminology. If you have any trouble, yeah, it's not. I'll have a YouTube tutorial one day where I really want to talk with people and get makers equipped.
We've got probably 4 molds in my car.
Superb. We can play around. Hey. I know he wants to play with all
If
this
he
stuff.
can help us model on my modeling software, if it works anything like Inventor, we can run them all. I've got blanks.
That's great. That's superb. So what Tim's want is a deeper. Now, does he want it uniformly deepened? Did you guys talk about
it?
He's
kind of talking like he's got one that turned out. If you take a straight edge, actually, what he was showing me, and I've got some pictures from him. He had one he had made, and just by a fluke, this was that much off when it was sitting here and here.
So he had what we call a camber in his belly.
And he thought that it just had so much more pop than any of the other boards he had made.
Yeah, because it's stiffer.
A cambered board is flexing in the direction of the forces that actuate on the tail and the nose. So it's pre-flexed. It's preloaded. Now, a rockered bottom would be the swollen out bottom. Mm-hmm. It's counter-loaded. That is, it's
in the direction of the force coming.
It provides resistance to the force on the nose and tail. Both of them have advantages. Flat bottoms have no advantage. They're great. The advantage of almost every flatness we'll examine is production quality. Mass production requires a lot of flat. That's why we have flat, fold, flat kicks. You see, out of all the mass production, this is not a bad thing. I'm not making a value judgment, but I think I might be the only person that's publicly identifying our industry is based on a mass production product, and that's a great thing. Somebody has to make millions of units. We've got to give kids skateboards to ride on, and craft makers like me can only take care of barely our neighborhood. So, that said, we're looking for a cambered. Does he want to put a camber into it? These hips are great. These are good hips.
Yeah, I wouldn't actually raise them.
So
what would be the functionality of,
It locks it a little bit more if you have
pocketing. That's another term. Pocketing is what you get as you stand on a board. Say if this were my foot and that were my heel and these were my toes. Pocketing is what you get when you diagonalize your foot and you lever between this corner and that corner. See that? This is the pocket that your foot goes in. And your autonomic nervous system is dialing in all the control settings when you're riding. You're actually compensated to your board within the first 1 or 2 rides. Any board from any maker will be enjoyable to almost any rider by the time they've just gotten used to it, because our nervous systems are amazing. And we've underplayed that. We've played up in skateboarding. Our industry has played up the technology thing, and we've played down the human capacity for adaptation, which was the reason why we loved skateboarding and felt empowered by it in the first place. So, that said, you actually can take this shape and computer add a little bit of a camber to it.
It would take me more time. It would take me time.
That's cool.
But I think he could probably do it.
So I do that in my workshop by casting in plaster, and then go into my light table, which is a table with a treble leg. Okay, and go into my table.
Hence the name.
It's right, the table where I hold the light and look at things. and using my eyeballs and my brain and my nervous system to try to put a curve in the belly of it. And a few $20 of plaster later, and a mess. I've got, because the plaster will set up in 1 hour, so within a couple of work days, as if I have a lot of those to spare, I can have a mold. Most of my best molds, I have one mold, my first mold is very slightly cambered, like 32nd of an inch, and we feel it, we love it. And it's cambered right here. But that camber is combined with a deepening of the belly at that point. That's right in front of the tail. So if I were to identify, I think this is the tail. So what you got is you have a high hip right in front of your back foot. That's a braking zone. A deeper curve means greater rigidity at the braking zone. So the small shop maker has the ability to, now before I didn't really mean to do that. That was kind of accidental on some of my tries, and I liked it and I went with it. That's the way almost all my stuff goes. So please don't even think for a minute you're talking to an expert. You're talking to a co-learner with a little bit of mileage, only a little bit so far.
That's how great artwork is created by accident.
Yeah, art trade. Johnny and I have made up art trade as we go along, and we're not skateboard
What the
guys.
hell did I do later?
I mean, this is, so Johnny's my, like, me when I'm gone.
Yeah.
Anymore, I'm a secretary. I do billing.
I'm working on a Johnny right now. I'm working
And Johnny
Luke is my
makes
guy.
stuff.
Yeah.
So,
In fact, the first thing I've made in a long time was that skateboard.
That's a
back in,
great
like, November.
skateboard.
That was
That's
probably
a
the last
superb
time I touched a
skateboard.
piece of
There's
it.
my second one. The first one was that one with
Super.
the walnut rolls.
You got a question?
You make any with vacuum pressing?
Okay, so vacuum pressing is excellent for boards that you want to be flexible. Vacuum pressing doesn't achieve the force that there are different kinds of pressing, and I am in love with pneumatic bag pressing. George Powell's system uses a pneumatic bag on top and a mold on the bottom. Look at that. You can make any mold you want to now without having to machine a top.
Infinite pressure.
Isn't that
and
wonderful?
You're limited to that.
Misalignment is a thing of the past. Loading the press is superbly easy. You're just loading it in and then you're hitting the switch and the bag goes. But my shop, I'm under a bit of I have an agreement with myself that I'm not going to employ methods that have high pressure lines or anything that, you have two issues. Pneumatic lines are a lot easier than hydraulic lines, but pneumatic lines blow up all the time. And I know a few people who've gotten pneumatic line injuries. And
You're using what kind of material?
well, so I have to learn how to do I speak 3 languages fluently. My background is in theology and languages. It's not in woodworking or mechanics or anything. So I've had to learn every craft on the way to this. You know, the kids will call me like a wood wizard. And I'll say, yeah, I had to master the spells of stone, that's the mold, and steel, that's designing a pressing system that operates simply and is easy to maintain. It has to be simple, it has to be easy to maintain. It takes 3 full minutes for me to crank down my presses. That's a long time. That's a huge amount of time. If I incorporate an air over jack into my design, that means that each of my presses will employ 3 jacks total, and it'll reduce my press down time to about 30 seconds. So that's the next phase.
How many boards do you make in there?
Oh, that's a good question. About 3,000, 4,000.
So,
Yeah.
2 minutes of crank down time savings is a big deal.
My full-time board making capacity is between 250 and 350 boards a month. Anytime I want, I can push the button on that. Right now, I'm involved in a lot of this, a lot of social media, and a lot of correspondence with people who have been dabbling to try and not like Sam Cook, for example. Sam Koch is Sam Cook. Other people pronounce it Coke. Koch, Cook. Sam makes a darn good skateboard, and he just acquired some new pressing stuff. Yeah, so his volumes are going up. But Sam is he's not like an outgoing guy like me and like that. So I just ordered 50 boards from Sam for our new studio, not a skate shop, but a studio. And we're gonna use Sam to make the Midwest Blue Collar Workshops shop boards. And we're gonna sell those. He's been capable to make so many boards, but now we can begin to touch his capacity. His margins will be slimmer on the front end, but He's got the ability to do volume. So trying to develop makers. Tim Barkley, I sold Tim a bunch of wooden glue for a minute from, I'd gotten the wood from York North. I probably won't be working with York North anymore. It's nice to meet you. And Sam had glowing things to say about you, and I have glowing things to say about the folks at York North, but they are really far away. And I found out after my, I don't know how many rounds of wood I'd done with them, that they were buying wood from Ohio. And all of my rhetoric about cold-grown, high-density wood fiber, all of it's out the window. There will be no more from me because wood from Michigan and Ohio is going in the log lots and being auctioned off to mills in, I mean, we're talking the far northeast, Napatagan, up in New Brunswick.
Because we're talking about placing our first order with them.
Oh, good.
For the bad ones. The bad ones.
Oh, okay, so that's where I buy my dye veneer.
Yeah.
And I'd love to buy it from you. Because see, if I buy from Marwood, I get to take my van and hand load a pallet into my van, probably 2/3 of a pallet, so I figured out 300 boards worth into the van, and then I get to park my van at Louisville Skate Park and enjoy a nice session with my friends, and then I get to stop at a few ramps along the way home, and we can YouTube that, and we can use that to promote the lifestyle of making. This is not just about skateboarding. This is kind of a patriotic sort of thing that's going on in our culture and our
Isn't there
country.
a hackerspace in Louisville?
Can't wait.
Yeah, level 1, LVL1. Look that up. Cool. You'll find it immediately.
I will.
But I was gonna say something back about vacuum pressing and adding camber to your board.
Great.
We have one mold that's just for concave, right?
Okay.
And so it's just like a 4-foot slab of the 2-inch
Foam, yeah.
And it's got the sides, sheared off a little bit.
Right.
And it adds your concave. I made a board, just like a drop mounted arbor. It's a symmetrical long board.
Beautiful.
It's just totally symmetrical. But I wanted to add camber to it and I didn't because I didn't know how to. But when I finished, I looked at it and I was like, if I just take 2 little wedges of foam and shim it under, and it adds the camber right there.
I'm able to use 3 shims, and I can create a what they call a tri-tail Alba made. But it wasn't Alba making them. It was either the Milwaukee outfit, which I forgot the name of them. But in Milwaukee they used to make Santa Cruz, and they make now a bunch of other. Milwaukee's making great wood. But you can make a tri-tail with a fold here, wings up, it pockets the foot for lateral traction, and really popular among bowl riders, among transition riders back in the day. And I can do that by putting a shim, a triangular shim here centered on the mold, triangular shim here centered on the mold, and a triangular shim on the top centered on the mold with a feather to it that goes out. And each of those can be as thin as a 1/16 of an inch, and you get a magnificent tri-tail.
Were you telling us about that?
Yeah, shim and mold. He was just saying about when he made a longboard. Yeah, shimming it for a camber.
This is fine. Woodworks
So
magazine.
that you could take. So what you have here is you have a fairly standard mold.
It's a,
You could simply
it's a
introduce
different type
a
of
bottom
article.
shim and a
They
top
usually
shim.
write about stuff like
Okay.
that.
Okay.
They're
So
more
measure your
into
distance on this.
Everyone's got to learn to
Always reworking your mold. If you like the mold you're working with,
last week I thought how I
you can
run.
just develop. I mean, we're talking.
I gotta get some of this mayonnaise.
We're talking. Okay, so also I see you have a high belly ridge in this.
Yeah,
That's
a W content.
This is a popular concave from the 90s. They wanted to have 3 contact. They wanted to have 3 maximum pressure points across the
Hate
board.
myself.
And yeah, but did you look this up, or how did you do this?
We got online, we went and make a board. Well, Jim called me and told me he was selling skateboards in there. So I'm like, that sounds like a great project with the boys,
Yeah, that is.
right?
Right
So,
on.
so we took his board, and then I'm thinking, and then I thought, well, how about if we put a little ridge in here that's going to make it stiffer, because I'm thinking engineering, I have so many folk stuff.
Your board would, I can understand it. It would be, this is a keeper. There are going to be people who love that. But I agree with him. I
We
like
played it out,
boards.
it's your molding, but
Oh no.
Where's the
Oh my goodness.
where's the
thank you.
board
Wow.
that's been made out of this?
that's the blue one right there.
Oh yeah?
No.
No, I mean, we're done with this mold.
I'm
Or the schools, if they want it.
send it to the school. Send it to the school.
I was ready. That's my problem.
Yeah, get a mold.
And you know,
Oh.
we
Yes.
simply,
I have a whole shop full of molds.
we simply, yeah, well, the CNC tolerance, you know, that's a 7/16 offset.
So in the, oh, you have an
Yeah,
offset?
I
You have an offset?
Yeah, so it's, I took the one surface and offset it automatically 7/16 to make the other surface.
Oh,
Same kind of,
So it's offset for how many boards deep inside? One.
yeah.
My molds have no offsets. They're mirror molded. There's no offsetting in my molds, and they press excellently. And with one board, they press just great with two boards, but with three boards in them, something magical happens. My joints are just perfect. And
The
because
compression of the wood fiber, right?
it is. It's all about the compression of the wood fiber. And no matter what kind of wood I'm using, if I'm using thinner layups or thicker layups, 3 at a time. Now it's nice. I don't know what 4 at a time does because hand rolling all my glue, there's no time before that glue begins to set. I've got a half an hour open working time.
You want to borrow my grease cutter out there?
You know, sure, I'll borrow it. Is it really large?
24 inch, just feed them through.
Yeah, let me try it. I have been
Yeah,
critical
I'll come
of.
over with a truck because it's,
Yeah.
it's unit, but I'll see how much it's
Will it fit in the back of my mini?
Yeah.
I think it
You have
was.
to look.
I got 4x8 back there.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Let's play with it
Look
today.
at it.
What is offset again? Not to change.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
so I drew my deck surface, and then I offset it by my anticipated thickness of my finish, of my finished piece. So this isn't just an exact negative of that.
Which mine are.
It's offset by 7/16. So like this is slightly smaller, so that in my mind when I did that I would get equal pressure throughout the veneer instead of having to deal with the compression of wood. And I'm very familiar with wood compressors, you can do it all the time. I've got we just use lightning clamps across this.
I'm seeing it.
That's how
great.
we press. But we've got those and then we've got the pieces on the other side for when you don't want to compress the wood. It's their job. But for this, it takes us 10, 15 minutes. And we don't crack out, and for one, I don't crack out the grease spreader. What we got the grease spreader for, what we got the grease spreader for was to run the mowers, to glue the plywood, to stick them in the clamp rack over there. And the reality of it is, I found a company in Glasgow, Kentucky called Plytech.
Yeah.
That has a $1 million hot melt reactor polyurethane line. That I sort the wood, select the wood, send it to him.
Awesome.
He uses something that doesn't introduce any moisture to my material, and it comes back to me vastly superior to what I could cold press.
Oh, that is so great.
So, so the grease spreader is
Yeah. Well, let me play with it.
out there. But if you were gonna run, like it takes 20 minutes to clean glue out of it and get it all cleaned up. So if you're gonna run like a bunch of that split though, it's like we could fill up one entire layer of that rack with a 4.5 millimeter lamella and a 12 millimeter piece of plywood in under 8 minutes for the open time of SK8. And that's what all the floor guys, the cold press floor guys all use SK8.
So, that's funny to hear.
SK8 is state adhesive.
Is that Franklin adhesive?
Franklin?
Yeah, I work. Franklin won't open me. They won't what? They won't open an account with me. I have repeated. I actually went to another level of Franklin, and they said, "Listen, if you have trouble one more time, let us
They
know."
pumped me my last few months.
They were. But the thing, I never called that next level up again because the Ohio, the culture in the Ohio sales force is so. Is there something about me, you guys? Is one of my eyes higher than the other so far? That that when I called and said, listen, I run a skateboard workshop. It's a laminate workshop. That I'm making 1 to 300 decks a month. I need 55 gallons about 4 times a year. He says, we don't sell 55-gallon drums. I said, well, great. What do you sell? He said, 50-gallon drums. Well, that's fine. Okay. He says, well, you can't buy a 55-gallon. You can't buy a 50-gallon drum. I said, well, okay. Is it because of the volumes I'm running? He said, no. It's because, and then he said something about lows, and then he said something about licensing. And then I said, well, can I buy 25 25-gallon tote. No, you can't buy a 25-gallon tote. We only have 20-gallon totes. Okay, so this is a salesperson. I thought, how does this company make any money? They're obviously not making money on sales. So, but I tried 4 times over,
Well, they've
over
got,
3
I mean,
years.
you know, they've got it.
Cylinder loads.
But they've got,
Yeah.
what you're missing is they've got a silane division
Yeah.
that does all of the marine epoxy,
Yeah.
all the marine products where, you know, they've got a polyurethane industrial division
Yeah.
that does all the window sealants.
See, I
and
can't-
the-
yeah,
and the
I am missing
concrete, and
that.
So,
I can't-
so when you start talking about them selling you,
They-
like it's cheaper for them
Right.
to comp me product than it is for them to go through the process of setting me up.
It's so weird.
So,
Have you ever heard of the guy named Picture Custom Package?
custom
No, I'm working with
adhesives, and
National.
I've got one of their products right here.
I work with National Casing. They their salesperson comes to my home 3 times a year.
Oh.
Their rep comes to my house home workshop 3 times a year.
We like this,
Yeah.
but it's pre-catalyzed PVA, so it has limited shelf life. But
Mine too.
and you have to watch it. I mean, like they say 6 months, and I've had that for probably a year. What we'll do is we'll take it out, we'll spread it on a board, hit it with a heat gun. If it turns white, it's trash. And if it stays that translucent PVA color, it's good.
Wow.
It was actually the Franklin guys that taught us that, but that stuff is filled with walnut hulls. So it's got powdered, like
Yeah.
finely
Wood
ground
flour.
walnut wood flour in it. So it has a bridging capacity of like 6,000 to 8,000. So when you start talking about, and it acts like aggregate in concrete. So
I do, I understand
you know,
the wood
it
flour.
fills in the, but I still like I like this way better.
I haven't liked Type On 3 for its wood flour. The wood flour's at the bottom of the bottle. The bottle is too small to mix.
Yeah.
The on and on with Franklin. But National Casing in Chicago mixes my glue in Chicago. They make my glue in Chicago. That was a huge selling point. The 2-part they make in Texas, over in Tyler. And they're on the phone, they deal with me directly, and their rep comes to the house 3 or 4 times a year just to check on the workshop. And I'm running 55 gallons twice a year because I'm in PR mode for the last 5 years. We have to build this industry back up. We got to create in the mind of skateboarders the understanding that a made board made by a maker,
Better than the one you can go and get from Cosmic
or that it's even a thing. Like when I started 6 years ago, well, I started in 2008. We were buying out of Pennsylvania, and American made wasn't even a thing.
Fine, whatever.
I know when
I was buying my boards from an OEM.
I know when I got my first board, it was a Walmart board. I looked on the back, it said made in China.
Yep.
I rode that thing like 2 days, and I was like, skateboarding's not for me. And
Yeah,
then I
they're
got back
terrible.
into it when I got to college.
Yeah,
With the very flat board from back in the 80s.
they were good. They rolled. I was on those too. They rolled. These Walmart things, their bearings have plastic components. Have you seen?
Yeah, they're bad.
They literally,
Bad.
the wheels aren't made with polyurethane. They're made with polyethylene extruded with chop, and you know, it's just
They
it's
don't move
super.
2 miles an hour.
They do. They don't roll, and then the kids go, "Well, this isn't fun."
And then they get off it and never touch it again.
I have parents who tell me I want to get a Walmart board because I don't want my kid to go fast enough to get hurt.
But
I was
if
like,
you
well,
have-
make sure you get some bubble wrap for your kid too. you
if
know.
you're gonna try to go fast,
You can lower it from your
stop
helicopter.
and you're gonna fall.
Right.
You'll just like try to go fast and fall off the board, nosedive.
There's some beautiful
I'm
stuff.
drooling.
Look at
So
that.
when your hospital bills are you planning on-
So introducing
I hear-
a
you know,
camber.
This is your veneer, Jim.
Yeah.
You sent me these. 'Cause I had those others, but so I can't press these without them cracking.
Oh,
But what we
really?
learned is
Let's
we
see.
got this veneer softener from Quality Vacuum Products.
right.
Who I think's the cheapest. Like we've shopped around vacuum.
Is it ammonia based?
Custom pack.
Is it like is that an ammonia
It
based?
smells like it.
Yeah.
The veneer softener, I'll grab it.
Some of the guys I know are making using it. They actually will spray ammonia on the boards because it's not water. And it has a temporary swell and a temporary flexibility, and it gases out.
Okay.
That I'll never do it.
We'll take like scraps. Like we'll always have a pile of.
Another thing you can do is you can soften the force on the face. I need to put these down, and I'll break them. Are you his kid?
No.
Okay. So I would have one of his kids put it down.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Bird's eye.
Look at that. Bird's eye make a guitar out of that right now.
So we always have scraps left.
Right.
And so like when I have an eye like that, I'll find an eye like this. And we'll just line it up like that. And then you take your razor knife blade and trim through
And
both
they have what they
layers.
call cookie cutter punches. too.
Yeah.
They call it
Right.
plugging.
Plugging.
But,
that's a
but
little,
they're real.
it's a little highbrow.
They're really what a call! Love it.
I'm sorry, I'm in the wood business.
Yeah.
That's getting better than this.
That's really awesome.
Our
I'm
first
just
board was
drooling. You gotta
our
get
first
drooling.
board was a fishtail walnut burrow.
It was gonna be a trick deck, but we messed up.
Oh yeah, I didn't reset. Okay, so we have it on the CNC to cut it into a trick deck, and I didn't reset its surface. So the thing takes off, and my 4-inch end mill goes right across the back of the tail, and I'm just, we've taken all this time. I'm freaked out. I'm like, I storm away. Eli comes back and he's like, wait, look, see, we'll shorten up the nose. We'll use more of the tail. We'll turn it into a classic fishtail. We totally pulled it out and saved it. So our first board was not intended. Yes, Dad was irritated. Eli problem solved it. It was one of those moments. It was one of those moments. It was one of those frustrating moments where you can't solve a
That's
problem
awesome,
if you're
Eli.
pissed
Like,
off.
you know this, I still want to skateboard.
That's wait.
So you guys had them marked as like core veneer, face veneer, and all that.
All years of
I can't tell the difference, honestly. Like you're,
Yeah.
the only thing that I'm not sure
So
about
another thing you can do
And I
in
wanted to
molds
talk
with
to
veneers like
Lou.
those,
is net
introduce a layer of
thickness.
soft rubber.
I think I need to
Against
calibrate
that face.
one or two of the
So use a
veneers
softening
to
product
not end up
yes,
too thick when I do
and
7 layers.
introduce a layer of soft
Or
rubber
we
to
have-
Well, let's talk about
take
thickness for a
to
minute,
take the
'cause
shearing
we got
forces,
it.
mitigate
Thinner
the shearing
thickness
forces
is
on
carrying
the face.
the-
Yeah.
There's just friction between that.
Yeah, I
and
just,
that was breaking.
I think there's
Put a piece of
7
soft
decks
rubber,
left
then
there.
that
We've
thin
pressed
layer.
3.
Now there's
Um,
less friction. That
but
rubber
we're also
mitigates
softening-
that contact.
No, this is the way
Takes
it's
force
going.
on it. Yeah. Which means you need to crank it down, and then 2 minutes later, crank it down. Come back. You
I
guys
kept
do
a
that with
pallet
soft
lid
rubber.
on top of it, and I kept
When
weight
the-
on top of it. So I have treated it. I mean, I haven't just left it laying around.
Yeah.
But, hey Lou, I really want to talk about thickness.
And then I repackaged it.
So,
You made like
So you said these walnut burls crack when you try to press them?
It depends on how far you're trying to bend them.
Okay. And is that like with just the hydraulic presses? Or were you using
Anything,
the vacuum? Okay.
vacuum. So what we have is a softener that you put on it, and it's I find it.
somewhat similar.
You know, because we're pressing on curves, nothing slides. And because it's a curved press. Although my press is lower. The way my press is lower is I've got, you can see on my social media, I have 2 jacks, and my mold is lengthwise between 2 press stands, with 2 jacks. So it cranks down this way, cranks down that way, and cranks down, and it seesaws in.
we made 3 decks in the last deck we did. Wait,
Oh, there's the veneer softener. Yeah, you can get that from Kent's picture also.
Lou, would you do anything with these off-balls?
No, I wouldn't get around to it, and they'd sit in my workshop and be wasted. You'll find something.
We will.
You'll wind up making plunge out of those for some other. What is that?
Walnut
Walnut
burl,
burl.
California. California. But we're stocking it center thickness now, across instead of 116. I mean, this is 116.
So let's see what thickness. Let's talk about thickness.
Okay, so these are would you say
Well,
one?
this is 120. So the standard maple leaf stock is 116.
That's right.
But we're starting to carry some 120 across
To the
bands
crossband.
as well, to make a lighter board.
So, okay, the industry has been thinning. Some of my rhetoric is incisive. That means it cuts across. I step on toes, but it's well over time to just say some things and then let a conversation evolve or devolve from it. So thinning has been happening since the 80s. Skateboarders crave a light, flippy, flicky board. And when I began, I made boards out of all 1/16. The only thinning that went on was, okay, so I get wood from a mill, and then I dry it. I let it acclimate, not to some small percentage, but to a normal 30%. I let it all acclimate in a room that's 30%. It doesn't all go to 30%, but if what I want is, when I press, I want a veneer sheet that is the same humidity content, the same water content from one end to the other, so that its absorption rate of the glue is uniform. The uniformity is what I'm shooting for, and I have a very rudimentary curing room. It's a triple insulated plastic and panel room within my workshop, and I have ordered nothing but 1/16 veneer since I began. But I've gotten 1/17, 1/20. I've gotten stuff that is all across the board, ridges and runs and breaks and all sorts of stuff. And I don't have any complaint about it. From handling product from York North, great outfit, great people. I think everywhere as near as good as it gets, York North. And Jennifer, I speak French with them on the phone. I mean, I'm a star. You know, we have I'm kind of a big deal. and so handling that product, I'm seeing that depending on where you are in the process of the maintenance cycle, on the blades, on the milling equipment, we order 1/16, but we get 1/15 to 1/18
Figure that out right now.
material.
Industry standards are plus or minus 2,000.
Then we buy everything by English fractions. And in my workshop, once we start converting English fractions into decimals, we find ourselves caught in this web where, as skateboarders who love great skateboards, we just start laying stuff up. We just go back to laying things up. We quit drawing on the veneer and trying to do math on the veneer and just put it in the molds and press.
We talk thousands here.
Yeah, I measure to the thousandths on my centering because the caliper I use has that on it.
We definitely have to get back.
But I'm just cutting the half.
We definitely have to get back to the centering thing too at some point.
Well, I'd love to center a board in front of you and see what you think. I'll do it. I'll center something in front of you and you can laugh, and all the tension will go out of it. But as far as veneer thickness goes, when I go in my room, I've got 300 boards worth of wood all stacked up and curing. It gets collated and pre-cured, you know, in my best hours. You know, I don't have the greatest work ethic. You know, I'm kind of an intellectual. I'm a sort of a white collar guy, but when I'm humping, I've got, like right now, I've got 30 boards laid up, pre-curing for a week before they go into the presses, and I have a good volume capability in my process. This is not a small buyer for a wood seller. It's not a small buyer for a glue seller. It's not what this shop will make in flooring, but in the skateboard market, you get 10 or 20 shops like me. Sam Cook and I already are buying glue together, and he turned me on to your work, Jim, and he's getting a price per board that I'm definitely